What if the factors that fuel human trafficking aren't just forces out there, but right here, shaping the world we live in every day? Here, we take an unflinching look at how cultural influence, hidden pain, and exploitative systems contribute to the demand for commercial sex. This isn't just another awareness podcast about a social issue. It's about people, the human stories of those harmed, those healing, and those waking up to their role in change. Welcome to the Demand Disruption Podcast.
Nothing is more important to our organization than to listen to those who have lived experience. That lived experience informs us exactly how to pursue what we're trying to do, and that is to disrupt the demand that fuels human trafficking. There are so many perspectives in this work that we can borrow from. But two of our favorite people have been part of this combo that we're doing. We're interviewing these two wonderful women. The reason for that is to understand the breadth of experience. The more we understand, the more we can learn from them and begin to implement the changes that can help us win this fight against human trafficking. And at our core, that's really what we're here for. As I think about getting to know our guest today and the work that she's doing now, has done, and the work that we have done in our relationship to become closer friends, I'm extremely honored to get to explore some things today that while I may have heard, we're definitely going to be a first for our audience. So, Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm grateful for that. And I feel like if we could just flip a camera on with you and I talking, just like on your drive home or whatever, it would be probably about the same as what we're going to capture today, or at least I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we typically will start with a simple question, and that is, tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood. Tell us about the beginning of Tracy.
Yeah, so born and raised in Houston.
Yeah,
and St. Joseph Hospital, right downtown,
nice.
45.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. And
Valentine's Day, baby?
Yeah, Valentine's baby. And
why does that not surprise me?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and birth mother took me home and took off. And home for her was living with her parents. So they were my grandparents. And she took off. Now, of course, a lot of this that I'm sharing, especially childhood, is going to be things that I heard that were, that I kind of picked or was able to piece together. Because, of course, I was an infant. And then up until I was, I think, 2 years old, I was told that she took off for about 6 weeks, left me with my grandparents, and then she came back and was going to give it a go. So I was told she did move into an apartment right there in Southeast Houston. I grew up off Monroe by Hobby Airport. That was the home that she came home to and left me. And so she gave it a go, and she got this apartment. And so I was told she had me for a couple of years, and I was told it was pretty bad. A lot of neglect, abuse, addiction. She had a whole lot that she was dealing with. And, I do refer to her as my birth mother. She's still alive. She lives in Oregon. And, but I came to know my grandparents early on as mom and dad. So my grandmother, who I've referred to as mom since I was probably 3 by choice. I wasn't told you need to call me mom. Yeah. It was just natural. But I was told that, she went and got me out of that apartment where I was kind of running around just trying to survive. And there was, needles everywhere and all kinds of craziness, and went home with them. Wow. And so that's the very early part. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, we're going to get into a lot. I'm listening and thinking about your birth mom, and I'm just, you tell a story, and if somebody's not listening, they might hear, oh man, this woman was abusive, neglect, all of that. What I heard was in spite of everything in her life that she knew and felt, she still tried. And she tried in a way that didn't look like anybody else's try, maybe. But you, some of your word choice was that, yeah, I mean, she tried to give it a go. It didn't work. She was attempting to be a mom to some degree. And I think about that, and I think about how that must have been difficult for her. But then she was your mom's daughters, basically, like your grandmother who became your mom, and how hard that might have been for them too. That's quite a dynamic.
Yeah, it's always been hard to tell that story or make it make sense, because it's like my grandfather was really my step grandfather, and then the mom. But oh, you mean your grandmother? No, I mean my mom. But yes, technically my grandmother, and then the birth mother, and the whole. So that's all. There's always been. It always seemed like I got to pull out the big. Briefcase. Okay, well, here's the story. Tree. This is what. Yeah. So.
So my aunt and uncle adopted me, so it's kind of the same thing. I'll say mom and dad, but then part of the story gets into the lineage, and I got to say aunt and uncle, and then you got to explain it so you don't sound like
it's like a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So your grandmother's raising you. She's mom now, right? Grandmother, mom, same to you. And so you're getting a little older. I guess I don't know, 5, 6. What's that like? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, I always tell it like this, that growing up, I had anything and everything I wanted, but a voice.
What does that mean?
That means,
you have a voice.
That means that I was very, very well taken care of. Extravagant Christmases, all the presents under the trees, the bicycle, all of the clothes, the great bedroom, all the things that I wanted, all of those things were absolutely there. But it didn't seem that, or I felt like I did not feel heard. I did not feel seen in a way that made me feel appreciated. Yeah. So growing up, my dad had one look on his face every time he looked at me, and that was a look of disgust. So I know now, just through healing and wanting to kind of look back through years of my life, and I've been asked questions like that before. I just think he was very resentful that I was there. I don't think that I think he had already, there was quite an age gap. They were technically grandparents. So they were a lot older than me, maybe tired, kind of done raising, and then here another. And then, of course, I learned later that he had some issues with my birth mother. So it was like, here it was again in his life. Yeah. Oh, wow. So it just kind of spilled over on me.
That's so layered. So many complications, because you're young, so you can't verbalize, and you don't necessarily know, well, my mom's not around anymore, and this guy doesn't even like me, and she does. But like, that's such a mixture of acceptance. Like, how do I just be acceptable? And you don't even know how to sort that out as a child. Oh, you're like 6 or 7, maybe, you're talking about this is young?
Well, that relationship, it was like a plane on a runway, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse as I got older and older, because he was full of resentment. And then, of course, I definitely started internalizing those things. But yeah, that young was, I didn't know what to do with any of that, And it wasn't just at home. It was like that at school, So at school, I mean, I'm taller than everybody. I'm loud. I talk a lot. Like I said, I always seemed like I would say the wrong thing at the very wrong time, laughed a lot of questions. And then I did not know that there were significant events, things that had happened to me, like abandonment, or that impression that was growing on the inside of me about myself, of the way that my dad would look at me, that was shaping the way I felt about myself, the way that I was I always felt dissed.
Yeah.
I always felt dissed,
there
man.
There we go. Use the word.
I always felt dissed at home on that personal level, not being taken care of, all that with my dad. And then I felt that way at school. Like, I just always seemed to get even though everybody knew me, but it was like I was identified by, that real tall redheaded girl.
I mean, I know people know, I'm just going to translate for our younger viewers. disrespected, okay? But in the larger context, all joking aside, it also stands for disconnected, right? It stands for disassociated with others, not having that connection, not having that feeling of self. Oh, they know me, I'm known, and I'm accepted as I am. Like that. That's hard. And you're talking about reflecting on it. Like, of course, you don't know that when you're a kid.
Right.
But it leads to other things. It leads to either attention seeking or not caring about what happens to you and others. Like, there are just so many. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to talk about that a little bit. When did life really start to change for you, just from a innocence and everything else point of view?
I mean, what's coming to my mind right now, I can remember I would come home from school every single day and run straight into my bedroom. And I would try so hard to be pretty and look like the girls with the blonde hair or the brown hair or the short girls, or try to wear like my sister's shoes that were smaller and squeeze my foot in onto them so I could have a smaller foot. And every single day. And what are you going to do? I have red hair and I've always, it seemed like I've been 6 foot tall forever,
Yeah.
So, but I remember doing that, and then just so many different experimenting, different clothes, doing different things. And, honestly, when I was in high school, I knew everybody again. They all knew me. I was popular in that regard. I was starting to a little bit kind of come out of my shell a little bit. I was certainly joking and laughing in class, but I was always in trouble and didn't take anything serious. I quit school. I was not interested in any of that at all. But when I hit about 19, oh yeah, it was on. I was not the same girl. So I guess all those years of practicing makeup and my dream was to have this length hair. It's like, I'm going to have long hair and I'm going to, this whole thing. And so I guess it kind of paid off when you practice putting on makeup, And so, yeah, when I was about 19, I had already, I was kind of started, for some people that may be starting early drinking and smoking weed, but I kind of call it getting a late start, because I didn't use drugs in school. I didn't drink in school. I may have drank a couple of wine coolers or tried to smoke a joint, didn't really even know what I was doing type thing. I definitely drank probably beer, but...
Until you're like 19 or 20,
but when I hit about 19, I don't even remember how I got introduced to, but I used to run this one nightclub called Doodaddies on Alameda Genoa, right there in Southeast Houston by Hobby. And I started getting very different reactions from men that I had never gotten before. And so all of a sudden Big Red was not dominating things. And actually the nickname, my nickname was Cadillac Red. And that was given to me by a dude. And I lived up to that name.
So that was given to you by, so I want to talk about, so we've got this timeline, right?
Yeah.
Very rough start. And in that rough start, a lot of doubt, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of questioning, where do I belong? Do I belong? All of that, even though you couldn't verbalize at the time. Fast forward up to about 19, you've gone through those trenches. You've found a way to disassociate with this feeling of all of that. And then you're doodads, or you're in the bar, doodaddies, sorry. You're in the bar and you're getting attention from men, which this is the part that I want to be clear on to make sure I understand. The attention from men, because it was physical affection or that type of attention, was what you were seeking the whole time, even though it wasn't attention from men, but it was just on some level, let me be desired or something.
Yeah. Do you see me now?
Yeah. And then is that when it really started to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's
over the top.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
just real quick, what did that attention from men, what course did that set for you as a person, as a woman? Power.
Tell
me about that.
I've got the voice. I'm the one. You're listening to me. You're buying me drinks. I'm doing all your cocaine. I'm smoking your weed. You want to sit with me all night. And so, we were talking earlier about there's levels to the game, so I was really already involved in the level of what we call the game at that point, way before, it got to the point it did, which I know we'll talk about.
Get as much as you can without give as little as you can.
Absolutely.
Right? How do I get the most out of this?
Right.
How do I get the Coke or whatever I'm after and not give you anything?
Yeah. There was years where I remember because I worked in bars. I was the whole bar scene. I was a barmaid. I worked at ice houses. I was like all into that and made a whole bunch of tips. And, but I remember I'd go home every night, still living with my parents. I still had that crutch because they still 100% paid all my bills, got me another car if I need, whatever, all that stuff, all the clothes, all the stuff, all that still existed. But my mind had 100% shifted to where I'm now getting this like attention. I'm now getting that. So I got real involved with men to that point, but it was definitely a game. So I'm at the bar next to the dude and just, are those new boots? And acting like I care and, and I'm but I'm not definitely not at the height of my hardcore addiction. I'm just dabbling a little bit, but I was definitely drinking a lot.
And you're understanding the influence and power you did have with this type of interest, air quotes. It wasn't real interest.
That's a great word, the interest.
The interest I have in you, how much am I going to get that back and what will come with it? And so you started to learn the fundamentals of the game. You started to learn the fundamentals of those things without knowing it. So you're in this crash course, so to speak. And the flip side of it, the guy's thinking, I'm taking this girl home. His motivation is set for here. Yours is set for here. And now let's see who wins, right? It's funny to laugh at now, but you think about that, man, that is combat, but in a way that you wouldn't know it if you didn't know what you're looking at.
And a lot, there's been a whole lot of, in my pursuit of recovery and healing and a lot of self-reflection because I didn't care if a guy was married. I didn't care if he had kids. Zero regard.
Means to an end, right? What do I get?
And a lot of that, I think, may have been shaped from because I got away with so much stuff growing up. I never had to suffer consequences. Everything was paid for. I was always out of trouble, gotten out of trouble. It didn't matter what it was. So you're taking that kind of Mom will buy a new one. I'll just get a new one. I'll just get another car. I'll just get another outfit. I'll just do this. Because it was always literally done to the point of crippling me, actually, when I had to do it myself, because that was her love language.
Yeah.
That was her love language, because she didn't have nothing. Yeah. So you couple that with now all of a sudden powerful. I got this attitude of, because see, I'm feeling untouchable, because it don't matter what I do while I'm out here at the bar, because I can just go home and I've got, my mom's going to take care of whatever, it don't matter. I didn't know what was going to be on the other side of all that.
You saying that was her love language hit me right between the eyes, because, okay, just everybody listening, stop for a second. I'm talking to Tracy about lived experience, right? We're having this conversation, but not really everything we've talked about at this point is so common for so many people as far as what they felt. I wasn't seen. My parents gave me stuff, but they never really, all of those things are so human, right? And then for her love language to be to give you more stuff and give you more stuff and give you more stuff. Meanwhile, your dad's struggling with this resentment because of pain that his own daughter inflicted on him in other ways. So there's just all these dynamics that, yes, we're going to get into talking about the lived experience of Telephone Road and everything else, but just Tracy, the human being, you are talking about things that anybody listening should be able to identify with to some degree. And that's why this is so important to hear from you. It isn't about telling a story about how you were harmed and going into detail about that. If that comes up, that comes up. That's your choice. But you're helping people understand there is this other dynamic from a human standpoint that's happening, and things come of it that, as you look back on it, you try to understand it.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more going on, you know, with whenever maybe we're all those that are in the field that are working with maybe a vulnerable population or a victim of trafficking or exploitation or whatever. Yeah. It's like that, you know, that's how they show up with maybe they check the box, but there's a whole lot more going on. And I can say from my experience, you know, and you know, I know quite a few women that have that exact experience. Yeah.
I'm thinking about so much you were talking about. So tell me about Cadillac Red.
Yeah, Cadillac Red. Like I said, I was working at a bar, and actually that came from a song. There's a song out there by the Judds, which is a country and western duo, mom and powerhouse, you know, daughter and mom. They actually sing a song called Cadillac Red. And I was working at a bar called the Jukebox on Alameda, Genoa, little bitty hole in the wall. Yeah. And a friend of mine, I was serving in Budweiser, and that song started playing. And now I'd already started really, you know, what I call reaping the benefits of being noticed. And, you know, Cadillac Red, she was pretty hot. Mm-hmm. And so I was feeling, you know, very confident. Yeah. And you know, still the party girl, though, very much the party girl, but a lot of disregard. Like I said, it didn't matter to me if, you know, I hurt people. She hurt people. Yeah. And by not caring if they had children at home and a wife at home that's made dinner, but they're at the bar with me, and all that matters is that moment. We're laughing. It's hilarious. We're smoking weed. We're drinking. We're having a good time. And if if it was someone that I did, you know, that I was out of my desperation, he notices me. He cares about me. He's, you know, so those other things, they just go out the window. And of course, it's, when you're in a life of trying to heal and practice recovery, you're like, golly, I hurt so many people. You know what I mean?
You're realizing it looking back.
You said, right. You know, how disrespectful. Yeah. And, but she had no regard for any of that. But that song came on, and I'll never forget, you know, this guy's his name's Steve. And he said, "You're Cadillac Red." And I remember it was like when he said those words to me, something came over me. Like and I assumed an alter ego in that moment. Wow. I said, yes, I am Cadillac Red. And from that moment on, I worked. Just remember how I used to come home and work real hard I want my hair to grow, and I'd put the product in it and try to do my makeup. I worked harder to live up to who Cadillac Red was. This mysterious, fine, can't touch her, do whatever she want, you know, that kind of, this image. And so Cadillac Red's my alter ego. And
was there protection and safety in Cadillac Red? 100%.
100%. She saved my life. Yeah, she brought a lot of pain, but because I went from this dorky, always saying I probably say the wrong thing half the time now anyway, but I think now I just give little disclaimers like I'm probably going to repeat myself and say the wrong thing 5 times, but I mean well. And I did then too as Big Red, you know, but I just felt so helpless. So Big Red felt so helpless, man. So when that turned and all of a sudden that switch went off and Cadillac Red was on the scene, it was on. So all the disgusting looks that my dad would give, all the guys when I was in 4th grade that would make fun of me or just blow me off, or the guys that never would dance with me at the dances. And you said this perfectly. You're like, well, that's all human experiences. Yeah, but they are. But you know, for some people that wouldn't even sound like, who cares? Everybody gets bullied. I was not bullied. Let me correct that. I was never bullied. Yeah. But I felt very disregarded. And it's just Big Red. That's just Big Red. Yeah. And so she absolutely protected me, but it was her mission. I'm going to be the finest chick in this club. Believe that. And
didn't care who got hurt. Didn't care any of that as a means to an end.
No. And of course, like I said, everything's taken care of. I'm still living at home. Still didn't matter if I'm wrecking a car, which because I was already very much into drinking and causing problems.
You talked about her, and you said I, but then from then on you said she. And I'm not trying to pick everything apart, but there are things that fascinate me in conversation. And what that is to me is a selection of identity. You are not Cadillac Red, but she was there, like you were her. And for you to have that word choice, I think it's pretty powerful. I think it also speaks to probably a lot of work you've done for healing and separation of parts of your life. But that's pretty incredible. She did these things. She would do that. Is she still in there at all?
I would say that that's an interesting question. Is that a loaded question? No, that's an interesting question. Yeah. No, I mean, because I am such a believer in for myself and then trying to help other people identify those really hard places and what came out of that. I mean, I feel like, man, thank God for her, because I do feel like she saved my life in trying to mask how insignificant, how intimidated my dad made me feel, how disregarded I felt, how overlooked, and the mind is a pretty powerful thing. Resentments and our minds are so powerful that whether an event is real or not, if we believe it's real, it affects us exactly the same.
That's right. We behave accordingly. That's exactly
right. And right. So, I mean, if it was today was my last day on earth, like, man, my dad, no matter what, he did the dang thing, he handled his business. My mom was amazing. I was, but we just don't know how those events are so significant. They alter us. Yeah. And they absolutely altered me. So when you say, is she still in there? I say that, I joke sometimes. I'm like, oh, I need to get Cadillac Red out here to handle this. Yeah. Because of maybe the work I do sometimes.
There's still hustle.
Some of the work I'm doing. She was 100% a hustler. But the healing, I can't be strong in my hustle of succeeding and winning or even sharing those concepts with others. None of that started to really take shape for me until I started doing the work to heal. What's my motive? Yeah. Am I still self-seeking? What am I really trying to accomplish here? It still has to be about me, because it's all about me.
So Cadillac Red and then Renegade in the game. Can you get us to there? Can you take us from Cadillac Red to what Renegade?
Oh, yeah.
What is a Renegade?
Yeah, Cadillac. So she ran the course, for maybe a good 10 years, 8, 10, just hard and heavy. Everything was still cool. Things were slipping. Yeah. I was, but I mean, living with the boyfriend, but I'm at the bar and I'm still the party girl. But God, that's such a complex question, because a renegade in the life a renegade's a state of mind. Yeah. I've always been solo dolo. I've always felt like I had to figure it out by myself. Or wouldn't allow someone to help me figure it out, because I'm too scared that if I tell you I don't know how to do it, you're going to take it away from me, or you're going to think something of me.
Yeah, which some of that was shaped early on.
And that was something else I grew up. Yeah. Horrible fear growing up. Sure. Oh my God, I can't tell him. I can't tell him. I would pretend and dismiss those types of things because I didn't know how to process those feelings. I was, for whatever reason, I was just terrified growing up. And, but drugs started coming into the mix. And so, but I would say I was definitely a renegade from, my goodness, from a very young age. I was a renegade. I just certainly didn't have that terminology, didn't know where it would lead me. But as drugs started coming in the mix and I'm getting introduced to different ways to use cocaine and more things, and I'm leaving the bar earlier because I'm going to go and I find out where I can go score and do. There's a lot to this, Joe. I mean, so that transition, I had no idea where that was going to take me. So, you know, a lot of people, the reason I love to show women the mirror of their strengths is because the risk that's involved. I mean, you're a successful businessman. You have your own nonprofit. You do all this stuff. You have to take a risk. You have to take a chance. I never met a renegade that's not full of not just renegades, survivors, period. And even from whatever they've survived, have to overcome things and all this kind of stuff. But when you're talking about, you know, so the mentality was already there of, I got this. I just didn't know that as I walked through these doors, you talk about timelines. It seemed like I'd end up walking through a new door in life and like, oh, this is a little different. This is, and then new what I call players in the game, they're entering my life, and I don't really, but I'm still what we call 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I still live at home. I still got the car. I still got this. I still got whatever.
But you're also seeking whatever that reward is. You're going to, whether it's drugs or whatever.
Right. So it shifted.
Yeah, okay.
So now I'm not as concerned of this image of, I'm going to maintain, and if I want your man, I'll have your man. The drugs are starting to dominate. So that's rising. Was 100% the motivation of how I ended up in the game.
And as that's
I'd have stayed in the bar and ran men that way probably. There would have been, it wouldn't have, I don't believe that. It would have escalated to that if it wouldn't have been for drugs.
As that's evolving, like you said, different people are coming in because they're the ones you're getting the drugs from, or the access point. And so there's like this severity in everything in your life, the severity of what it takes to get the attention. Okay, I got the attention. Now, then the severity of, okay, the drugs are really starting to lead this path that you've got to follow through addiction and whatever else. Like you said, you're finding new ways to shoot cocaine and other things. And so the severity increases, and then the people that come into your circle, your life, that severity and what they are capable of. And
what I had is starting to kind of fade.
Yes, you're getting further away.
I don't have as much access as I did where I grew up. The relationships are really becoming very fractured. And I was already a solo dolo anyway, and it was always run home to mom. Even though I knew all those people, remember they all knew Big Red, they all knew Cadillac Red, but now I'm on a different field. And I'm just trying to go and score my little stuff and then go back to the bar or go home so now I'm entering a new level of the game. Right? So I'm bringing with me what I learned in the bar, the playing, the talking sweet, the this and that. But I'm starting to break down some. My mentality, my motivation, my desperation has increased.
Control is shifting.
My anger has increased. I'm going to get you back has... because that pain had been growing through all of that. So I talked about risks and chances, and, you know, someone had to introduce me to those things, you know, someone had to introduce me to that life. And I was absolutely introduced to that. I did not know anybody out there. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know the way that system worked. I had never been in it. But just like I was determined, doing the makeup, my hair's going to grow one day, just like I was determined when I was 19. And as a matter of fact, I am Cadillac Red. I was even harder, more determined. I'm fixing to learn this.
Yeah. Yes, because it's all acclimation. You're acclimating to something and thinking, oh, no, I got this. I can do this. And as you're acclimating, you're not measuring the amount of severity. You're not measuring the amount of risk. You're also in a reward-seeking behavior, which drugs are a big part of that at this point. And so as you're doing that, this conversation to this point right now, to me, when people say, well, how can somebody who is from a family that gives them everything, and she had everything. How could she end up in this life? Well, we just talked about this progression. This is exactly how this happens. This is where an understanding that you can't get on your own, grasping this victimization and vulnerability, but also survival and independence. Like you're having to manage all of that, and you're bringing it into an unknown environment where you are more and more vulnerable, further and further away from your support systems.
That's right. Because, like I said, that's starting to fade. But I was so used to, no matter what happened, what goes down, wreck the car, do this, go to jail, write the hot check, whatever.
Mom's always there.
Mom's there.
Always there.
Mom's there. Mom's there. So that's starting to, Dad died. Mom's on her own. Things are changing and all of those things. But, and I had no idea. None. I didn't know what motel. I didn't know people even hung out at motels. I didn't know any of that. And I just knew that I was already addicted to drugs. And someone's like, we score over here. And, you take these chances that you don't realize that, you said it perfectly, the support system's not going to be there, or where it's going to take you. So somebody would, they introduce me, but they go in and they go score and they come back. But then there's that day when, the girl that took me in her car over to that motel, she's nowhere around. But now I have an addiction and I know where to go score. So see, the stakes are getting raised because now I'm going to take a chance.
Severity.
And I'm going to go to the motel by myself. I don't know nobody here. And I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to try to score.
Man.
Yeah, and that's why I wrote the Game Over Playbook, to lay out those levels of, because you have to learn that whole game.
Yeah.
All the players in the game, who's doing what, why they're doing it, why they're there. It's a whole system. It's got its own language.
Yeah.
All of it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and you're assigning worth to people and value to people based on what, like, am I going to get me drugs, or is this person safe, or can that person get me to somebody who can get me what I need? And you're having to sort it all out.
Yeah, and in the beginning, I'm thinking I'm just going to go over there and get this, and I'm going to go home to safety.
Yeah.
But then the more addicted you become, the more you're introduced to the life, the more you're still living in this delusion. I was living in a delusion that I can just come out here and hang out and smoke dope, and then you get introduced to, back then they called it dating. And, you're hitting a lick, you're going, you got a trick. I didn't even know what that meant. They're like, do you date? And I'm like, what do you mean, do I date? Yeah, we got a trick that he's interested in you. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
They're saying date, and you have no clue.
I didn't know what a trick was.
This is now that,
nothing.
This is now into the life of prostitution, into the life of having to figure out how to survive. And the term renegade, we've said it a few times, but you had to adopt the persona of Cadillac Red, and now a lot of that renegade was in you said before, but now that's got to be the next persona, so you can survive in this game. Is that accurate? Is that
very accurate? Yeah, I was very much considered an outlaw on the street. People on the street called me outlaw. Nobody, I didn't run with anybody on the street. My health was declining. My mind was declining. More than a $20,000 a month IV cocaine, shooting dope, drawing up water out of the toilets. I did not care.
Whatever.
My son calling someone else mom. I mean, all the cops knew me. They knew where I lived. They knew my mom. They could spit out my information. They had memorized it because I had so many encounters with them. I was not nice on the street. I was not nice on the street at all. And, all I wanted to do, it's so crazy because my mom still lived around the corner, basically, off Monroe by Hobby, and I'm on Telephone Road. Yeah. And that's a whole thing. I mean, there's so many levels to that. I mean, I had to be introduced to Telephone Road, and I was even challenged by other girls that were deep in the game when I was still kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I remember a girl totally looking at me and going, Telephone Road? You don't have the experience. You can't go to Telephone Road. we went straight to Telephone Road. I did not have the experience. I didn't know what I was doing. But it's like this pursuit. You feel like you're in this situation and you just, there's so much that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm picturing you in a stream, and the stream's going fast. You're trying to paddle and try to get some direction, but you're also just being carried along with a lot of the addiction, a lot of the situation. So you keep saying Telephone Road. I grew up in Mayfair Park, South Post Oak. Just a few, 10 minutes from being on Telephone Road. We used to take Telephone Road to get to 45 to go to my sister's house. I remember a big rainbow slide. I remember a happy thing on Telephone Road. I was like, that's it. Jesus loves you sign. You remember that slide? Yeah, we talked about
Paul's
that.
Ice House where I worked was across the street.
And that was
That's
like
where
a legit place, right? Like that was
I worked there for years.
Yeah. And
Cadillac Red did.
And then as this slide is deteriorating, because we would go that way to go, and the slide was closed. And then I'd see a hole in it, and then I'd see all that. And hearing your story, I'm picturing the slide decaying and coming apart. And I'm thinking of you. You're saying you were coming apart. You were decaying. You were just like that. Is so strange that I remember that picture, that image, because we'd hit it. We'd go down. I mean, did you know us straight to the freeway? And then and that was the landmark. And that was the decline of Telephone Road. There was like this gradual decline, and a decline that you were experiencing as well, huh?
I absolutely was breaking down and declining. I ended up being a size 3. Walking up and down Telephone Road and running in and out of motels. All the motels I go to this day.
Yeah, man.
Are all the motels that I lived at.
You've overcome a lot. And thank you for sharing all that to this point. I mean, I'm just hearing you talk about you breaking down. I'm like, it's making me sad over here. It just, but it's raw and it's real.
I'm so sorry, but do you remember, so we talked about the slide and then there's Paul's Ice House. There was a little motel right there. So as I worked Paul's Ice House serving beers and was this, I was a great, great barmaid, is what they called it back then. But that was one of the original motels I started at, Airways. It used to be called Airways.
That was while you were at Paul's or after?
No.
Just because it was next to it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just kind of like, who knew? Like with the slide and Paul's, and then boom, that's where I would. It was called Airways.
Everything we're talking about here, it sounds like a typical scenario somebody would assume when they hear prostitution, or she's a prostitute, or whatever. But it's just not. There's all the elements, but it's different. And I think it's different because that word we keep hearing, renegade. Can you define for me and for everybody listening, what is a renegade? What does that mean? Yeah,
sure. So, in the landscape of human trafficking, if you will, a renegade is an individual who does not have a trafficker or a pimp. Okay. It doesn't mean that she never had a trafficker or a pimp, but at our point of engagement or maybe a place that she ends up, she is totally no handler, no trafficker, no one's getting her money, and she's completely involved in this system we've been talking about, this game, learning the players, living in the motel, hitting licks, ripping tricks off, getting high, surviving, doing whatever. But it's by definition, Okay. But the other part of that, though, is a renegade is someone that it's a mindset. It's a way of thinking. It's someone who's against traditional norms. A renegade's a trailblazer, right? If we could go somewhere with that term because somebody's got to be the one to pave the way. Someone has to be. So there's
then I'll come
two
back
sides
to that,
of that.
Because I love that. That's why when I'm talking to you about some other things, because we're going to get into some of the incredible stuff you're doing now as an overcomer and as a leader. And when I come back to that, I'd love for you to weave that in. Okay.
Okay.
As a renegade, there has to be more. Well, I don't know. My mind makes me think there's more risk being out there on your own. But then I've heard every story of a friend who's had a pimp or a trafficker, and it was hell for them, and they were never safe. And so,
it's this is. I'm so thankful to be able to have this dialogue with you and talk about these things, because for many, many years, I've questioned, why am I even involved in human trafficking? This is a whole different thing over here. Because I'm also ex-offender, and so I spent years in jail and prison and all of that too. So I'm very, very much a part of doing that work and talking about lived experience. But I've often looked or hoped and wanted to have avenues to be able to share about, even though, like I said, a renegade, like I said, I was introduced to the life. Mm-hmm. I wasn't forced to go do it, but I certainly was taken out there. Someone literally before my eyes said, "Watch me, I'll be right back." She literally, this is a girl I still know. She's still in the game. She 100%, I absolutely know her.
Just like
this
if
was
I
30
were
years ago. She walked out in the middle of telephone road.
Somewhere. Just like if I were
I was
at
an
a
intern
job
and didn't even know it.
Somebody said, "Here's how you do this."
She got out of the car. I was in the back seat. She walked out to Telephone Road, jumped in a car. She was gone maybe 5 minutes. She came back with money. We went and scored. Man. And then I copied her.
Over and over.
Yeah. And that's one of, and I've worked with her for, that was 30 years ago. Man. She's still in the game.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. But having the conversation to be able to help people see this other perspective, that there is an entire demographic of women that are 100% surviving the trauma that led them to the game, that are surviving the game, that do not have traffickers, do not have a pimp, that are they'll dare you. They'll dare you to try to take something from them. Yeah. So it could look a little different than maybe someone who are friends of mine that have had stories where maybe they were tricked into thinking they were going to be a model, but now they're at the club. But of course, they had to assume the position at one point to go and recruit other girls and things like that. So it's all this survival and this pain and this manipulation. But I still really believe that it's a unique experience. You know, we'll talk. You had said we'll talk a little bit about the work, but when you're talking about women that are living in that it's a culture. Yeah, it's a mindset, and
that does help a lot, because having the mindset, having all of that, I mean, there's just conventional assumptions people make about the life of being prostituted or in a prostitution. They don't see any of the intricacies, and that's why it's crucial that we hear the entire range and spectrum. Like Angela was telling us about her experience before Angela Williams was on, and that's why we're doing a two-parter, because your story does not sound like Angela's, but that doesn't either add or remove credibility to any of it. Yeah. It is more understanding for people who are listening to get an idea of it. And it needs to be,
it's, and then you're talking about these systems. Most of these women get incarcerated, so they're in and out of jail. And then that's a whole nother culture and game and language and hustle. And so their skill set's strong, I mean, because you had mentioned about people's perception and maybe because people don't know what they don't know. But substance use disorder. A lot of people don't understand addiction. And even if they haven't had it, or maybe they recovered in a different way to where one day they woke up and was like, I'm not drinking anymore. And they went on about their life and maybe their life got better. But then you've got some individuals, and that certainly was my story, that whole system, the ecosystem is jails, treatment streets, treatment streets. Yeah. And it's just this trap, and hospitals and back to jail and back to prison and back to the streets and back, so mental health, trauma, what's happened to people's brains through the significant events that have happened on their timeline, addiction, substance use, people not realizing even about themselves that maybe, I joke a lot, but I'm like, hey, you and Jen may go have a glass of wine and celebrate anniversary and have wine or whatever. Well, there are some people, and I'm one of them, that I could be sitting at the same beautiful table with the same beautiful wine glass, and we all get to-go boxes, and y'all go home, my experience is different. I have a very different reaction.
That wine is the catalyst to something that's going to take you
Absolutely
a whole different direction.
We lose the power to choose.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's hard to understand. It looks like a choice. It looks like you're choosing to do that. They don't care. If you loved your children, you would, if they want help, they'll get. These girls, it's never a lack of resources. It's never a lack of resources. It's and the things that are going on with them, it's very complex.
No, I can hear that. But that is exactly, you brought it right to a point I was going to ask, because choices and perception, it's hard, honestly, to talk about cultural issues like legalizing prostitution with people, and not because I'm angry that they don't get it, that it would be awful, a terrible idea. Yes, I don't like that, but it's not anger. It is more of you're citing sex workers who are saying, and again, I am quoting, this is not Joe Madison's doctrine. I'm quoting people that I've talked to that have been out of the game, leadership, all of that. People are quoting sex workers who are still in that life, surviving, renegade, pimped, whatever it is. They're quoting people that are still in that mindset, that still have that same list, conduit of choices this wide, instead of what the rest of us have every day when we wake up in the morning. And so what they are saying about their own profession and work and all of that, I have had survive. I think Angela said this in our conversation. She said that something that if she was still in the game, she would probably think differently. She would think differently about legalization or whatever. But being removed from it, your mind heals, your mind changes. You have choices. You have yourself. You regain your identity, and you're like, of course, I would never want to do that. Legalizing that is awful. It's a trap right back to all the things you just described. Am I off base here?
No, it's just like the women that many of us who are children are being raised by someone else. It looks like a choice. I'm choosing this life over my own child. Well, but not understanding, really? Is she really choosing that life over her child? Now, is that someone's probably, does that happen? Maybe someone's, they might rather want to be with a dude than take care of their kids, maybe bad mom syndrome or whatever. Yeah. But there's so much that are going on. There's so much going on with these women.
A lot of what we're talking about, we could just elaborate on. But I love the path and pattern that we're going to, because you've taken all of these things from childhood to things that you used it for, honestly, for bad decisions, like as you said. You've taken some of these skills, this hustle, this identity of being able to have some independence, and you're taking that now and you're helping women get out, who are out of the game or trying to get out of the game. You're helping them overcome with those skills. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to, if it's okay, I would love to talk about something that a lot of people may not even be aware of. And I don't know if this is something you had in mind to talk about, but I don't think I know that a lot of people do not realize the manipulation that exists between the buyer and seller.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's a whole dynamic that it's, most people don't think of that. Let's
talk about it, please.
Okay, so when you're involved in that life, as you're involved in that life and you're learning these players and you're learning that's what we call a shortstop, and you're learning, not to put your money in people's hands because they're going to burn off. Mm-hmm. You start learning who the dope man is. You're going straight to the dope man. Ain't nobody stopping me. I'm not giving my money to nobody but the dope man. Well, that doesn't happen on day one. Yeah. That comes after you're, right? You don't know which car not to get into until you're like, oh, don't get in that, or that's an undercover, you know what I'm saying? Or no, they ain't gonna let you stay here. You got to sneak in the motel, or at this motel I got to pay a little bit more, right? Wow. Then you start learning that another player in this game is the tricks, right? Well,
the buyers.
Now, not everybody plays the game like this. I need to make sure, because there may be someone watching this thinking, like that they took real good care of their tricks. Yeah. Well, then there was some of us, I talked about how Cadillac Red had no regard, even at that level of the game. Well, she really didn't have any regard by the time she ended up on Telephone Road, addicted as an IV drug user. Yeah. She really had no regard, right? Because I can't think about my son. I can't think about what I left behind. I can't think about what I screwed up and then what's wrong with me. All that's coming back because here, how am I out here type thing, right? So there's this dynamic that exists between the buyer and seller, this manipulation, because they're thinking one thing, just like the guy at the bar that I'm talking, lying to, telling him I like his boots because I want for him to give me that little bag of cocaine in his pocket so I can go to the restroom and do it. Well, it's the same, but now the stakes are higher. Yep. So it may start off looking one way, but see, as you learn that game and you learn, there's a reason we call them a trick, because I'm fixing to trick you.
Yeah. No treat.
No treat today.
Trick, no treat, brother.
Trick, no treat. Right. So
great. You ruined Halloween for me. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's this game that's going on. And some of these men, totally unsuspecting, they're just thinking, chick standing out in front of the Blue Top Motel, which some people may or may not be familiar with that. It doesn't even exist, but it used to be on Telephone Road. And full of chicks, just like, well, we'll talk about the work, but girls living in those motels. But they're just this unsuspecting dude that, they may be a professional, the dinner's on the table at home. They're just thinking, I'm just going to,
quick,
I don't know how transparent I can be, but they're just thinking they're going to get them a little something and they're going to go on home, right? Yeah. And, but now the addiction's higher. My disregard's higher. My lack of regard for you and whatever you got at home and wherever you got to be and whoever's truck this is, and none of that matters. And so this game, when you got guys like that, but then you also have the guys that think girls like sex. They think you enjoy it. They think they want to maybe punish you because you're out there and maybe something happened to maybe their mother or their own daughter or their
own trauma.
So there's all these elements going on.
Yeah.
So you have to survive that. So I guarantee you that you, just like you get money taken and they don't bring back your dope and then you learn real quick, I'm going straight to the dope man. Well, then it's the same with the tricks. So you start, you got one focus. When I see, they don't have any idea who just got in their car. They're thinking, oh, here's this, you do this, nice doing business and go on about. That's not what's fixing to go down.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm broken. My mind is shattered. I'm in a million freaking pieces. My insides feel like they're on fire and I don't care about you.
Yeah.
I just drew water out of the toilet in my freaking syringe. You think I care about you and your dinner at home at 6 o'clock? No, I don't.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is get that dude's money. I just want you to give me a ride, give me a room, because she's going to pay for the room so I can take a shower, because I took a shower every hour, no matter what went down. But I mean, because I need a room, I need to do this, because I never stayed in one place. Some girls do. Their rooms look like apartments. I did not. I didn't want anything that resembled what I lost. I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to have food in a motel. No.
You need the separation. You need it to be completely separate.
Completely. I don't want to listen to music I really like.
Because it reminds you of your mom or whatever.
It's way too painful.
Because you have to stay in that persona.
Absolutely. And so this manipulation begins to exist. So they think they're getting one thing, but my mind's 2 or 3 steps ahead. I'm already thinking which motel I'm taking him to. I'm shooting out prices. And plus we need to stop because I need a bottle of Mad Dog. I need some Newports. I need a couple of lighters. I need to get a crack pipe. And then I need to go score. See, he ain't up for it. He didn't even know none of that. He's thinking he's getting can I say that?
Yeah.
He thinks he's getting a blowjob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
In a minute.
His idea
just
of the
keep driving. Just keep driving.
You're
so see,
stringing them on for whatever you need.
And that becomes the highlight when you've lost everything.
Yeah.
Is I'm fixing to go bleed this block. And there's that language, and that's a whole nother episode, but there's a whole language, there's a mentality, and so they think they're playing me, and I'm sure going to try to play them without getting hurt. And that certainly, of course, that does come with the territory. Yeah. They'll show up the next day in a different vehicle. Remember me?
Yeah.
And you're already halfway in, and they drive off, and the door slams.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's pay-up time.
Yeah.
So, of course, I mean, we could have several episodes, it seems like there's so much to talk about, but there is a lot of manipulation. And then you get a guy addicted to drugs.
Yeah, because it's part of, as long as you're getting the drugs, or he has money and you know where to get the drugs and he'll buy it, he'll do that with you. And then you don't care whether or not he's addicted or not. He's just the next guy that's going to get you drugs.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this. So I spent 25 years in corporate America. And if I had a new job, I had to learn what was expected of me. I had to learn how to define success and get success. I had to learn how to do the things that were going to get me further along and get me to what I thought I wanted, whatever that was. I had to learn how to work with the people in my life that were now part of this whole pursuit of whatever it is I was trying to get. And I had to learn, do I play that guy? Do I not talk to that person? Is that person useful? Are they trying to, I'm in a business environment, so very different than what you're talking about, but also not that different from what you're talking about when it comes to principles, applying those principles of what's learned. How do I adapt? How do I acclimate? And then how do I get an advantage? And if you know those things on the street and you can bring that to the world in a healthy way, man, that's
I believe it.
You can't get training like that.
You can't tell me different. Yeah, I 100% believe it.
And you're doing that with people. You're helping them take those things that kept them alive and hopefully help them to thrive. Tell me about that.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the main places we do that is the Harris County Jail. And so Game Over is the playbook.
Game Over.
Yeah. And from the game to the kingdom, game over. It's done. And
awesome.
So we're looking at strategies that we used out there, the mindset, kind of what we were thinking at the time. We're looking at the players in the game, how we interacted with those people, just like you were describing in corporate world. People do it every day, but when that's the only thing that you have to pull from, right? When you hadn't been doing anything else, it may be being spoiled rotten and living off mom, and all of a sudden you end up in this, now you're in prison and you're surviving on Telephone Road shooting dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, and it was several years had passed before I started kind of getting these downloads for that. I'm like, wait a minute, man. I had to take a risk walking in that motel that day. I had to take a chance of doing this. I had to learn some moves and kind of, in Harris County Jail. So it's the Game Over Entrepreneurship Program. And we also have a timeline where we look at significant events that altered us.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Important.
So that big red, that altered the way I felt about myself and and then when I became Cadillac Red, right, I assumed a very different position, right? So I help them see and understand that they had to learn that entire system. Just like in jail or prison, that's an entire system. There's a language, there's an attitude, there's a vibe in there, there's a way you survive, there's a way you make money, there's a way you get stacked paper, have people come see you. It's a whole game. Yeah. And so we help them first see the significant events that altered them and changed them. And we look at that, and then we move them and have them describe their own playing field, if you will, like whether it was, for me, Telephone Road, or whether it was the bar scene or dancing or whatever, and the dynamics of that. And then we help them basically write a business plan. So it's like, how do we take that? And then we're always pointing them to, like, what is it you really, really want to do? Because that's one of the things I have found in my own life. The level of frustration was always because I couldn't seem to, just like as a kid, I just couldn't seem to, like, wait, I have something. But you take trauma, relational trauma is so devastating, what it does to people when you have a dynamic with an individual that's overpowering the other. So I was very intimidated by my dad. So words would always come out just sideways, and I couldn't think of it fast enough. Yeah. And somebody always seemed like they got a little edge over on me, Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. If a chick doesn't have a pimp, it's like, well, then why is she in the game? Right? It's like, well, she doesn't even have a pimp. Nobody's even trafficking her. She doesn't even, why does she, right? Yeah. That's the only place she feels confident. Because see, out there, it's on, man. Yeah. I'm talking about running across the Gulf Freeway at 5 a.m. traffic on a Monday morning on. Yeah. Yeah. It don't matter. So you take that same mindset and heal. Whatever path you choose to get some healing, and then you start bringing in and showing them, man, you already a leader.
Yeah.
You're already taking chances. And it's not just the game, Joe. It's also, God started showing me even Big Red, because Big Red was always, it just seemed like all eyes on me, right? It seemed like every time I walked in, like everybody, Big Red.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like this big old thing where I was always like, what?
Stop.
What?
Yeah,
what am I? I'm not even doing nothing. Exactly.
Yeah. Look away.
So you get a girl, I always say it like this. Once some chicks in them game, when they find out who they are, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
So, but it goes all the way back. So many people have experienced that frustration, that lack of like, God, what's wrong with me? Why? What? I didn't even do anything. So we try to help them see there's a strength in that. Exactly. You just exist. Yeah. You just walked in the room, and because you exist and walked in the room, you change the atmosphere. So then this starts turning like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. That's why it's just a whole new framework to realize you were born to dominate that room. But back then, you thought there's something wrong with you. You're Big Red, or you're this, you're a curse.
Because you carried all those insecurities in the room with you.
Right.
And so the eyes are just confirmation.
They're there. So it's like.
And whenever you talk to people about their worth and their identity and the work that they've already done and redeeming that in a way that's healthy, well, now they can take that, replace all the insecurity that they bring into the room, and instead bring into the room, maybe I do belong, maybe I can do this, and then start to work with them with some independence, because that's what it comes down to, right? It's a personal agency. It's independence.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
You are, like a prisoner of war is captured, or they're in this hell. They're able to get out, and they don't just get out. They think, okay, I know where that place is. I know what's going on there. I'm going back. Who does that? And you're humble to a fault. People would miss that because, you're a big personality, but they don't realize how humble you are about the work that you do and how you have to stop and go, yeah, no, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. You're just about the work. But you are that. Like, you go back to Telephone Road. I mean, I'm trying to think of a nickname I'm happy with. Warrior of Telephone Road, I don't know.
Someone called me one day.
You're like the operator on Telephone Road because you know where everybody is, and you're going back for them.
Someone said, what? The Guardian of the Southeast. And I thought that was nice, but I like Warrior of Telephone Road too, but
it's amazing.
I've heard
to
some
me.
Interesting things, which is very compliment. It's like, oh, that's so touching. Yeah.
Well, and you're going back and you're doing it in a way where you could be reliving all of the things that you lived. And in some ways you are, but you're also showing love to every thing alive on Telephone Road. And I say that specifically. I didn't say every person, because not only do you do that, but you do that in a way that is for the people, and then understanding the people that sometimes the only friend they have in their life, the only consistency they have in their life is a dog they love. And while they maybe can't take care of it, that dog is an emotional connection to them. And you go back for the people, but you also go back for the dogs. Like, your leadership and the work that you're doing, it takes a lot to understand. You got to slow down and listen, because you're doing a lot. And when I think about the work that you're doing and how you get back into the space that you escaped from, where does that come from? How do you do that?
Yeah.
I know your mom went back there for you, but I mean.
Yeah. My mom she's the catalyst of all of it. And thank you for that. Yeah. I've never heard it said like that, for everything living out there, you know? It just means a lot to me, man. It's like I've done a lot of really different things in the last 20 plus years in these spaces of criminal justice, nonprofit, probation, whatever, right? Yeah. But I just can never, it just won't go away. Telephone Road, it just will not. Yeah. And my mom, when I was still, living at home, this and that, still being able to pick up the phone, she would come out there. She would come out there at 3 a.m. to Pebble Walk Apartments on Broadway and get me. She'd show up to the motels at the Airport Boulevard there's still full of motels, but there was places I was at before I was totally stuck on telephone. Airport Boulevard, Belfort, Broadway, all of that. But she'd come out there. She'd pick me up when something went wrong, when I had a miscarriage, when stuff would happen. My head's about to explode because the dope was bad and I've been smoking too much of it, and just tried so much to help me, And in 2012, I was been hot and heavy. I was working at the jail, just loving this new experience and recovery and sobriety and all the things. And I was working at the jail and the door shut to that, and I was devastated because I love them chicks in the jail in Orange. It's just because it's so much part of my story too. I love those chicks. It's the same girls, whether I see them in the jail or in the streets. The same girls, but God spoke to me and He said, "I want you to go back to the very places that you used to be." And I need you to do the same thing out there that you've been doing all these years in the jail. Because there was a time you couldn't have got me out of prison ministry. That you never would I ever thought that I would ever be doing anything but prison ministry. Yeah. And He gave me the name Project Girls. And we were just an outreach team. Yeah, He gave me the name. He said, "I need you to connect with." This was, hey, look, I'm not even scared to say this. This is before anybody was doing any victim services. That didn't even exist. Yeah. And I say, hey, Renegade's a groundbreaker. But you know what? You kind of roll with it. You give me so much encouragement because you're like, people don't even know you're doing that. And I'm like, they don't. I'm like, really?
I shouldn't tell you that.
I'm like, God dang, I guess not. No. Can you send your money today? No. So,
we'll get to that.
I need a facility on Telephone Road. Anyway, So anyway, he gave me the name, and I didn't know. I had no idea. So I contact Southeast Police, and I'm like, "Hey, this is who I am." Blah blah blah. Well, about that time, my mom had a stroke. Now she had already left from Houston in the big, bad to the bone home I grew up in. I'd already been out of the life for several years, and she was living on a farm. And anyway, she had a stroke, and we took turns taking care of her, me and my sister. And I would tell her, "Mom, God told me to go." He gave me the name Project Girls. He told me go back to the motels, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, fast forward 2 days before the kickoff, and it was going to be at a motel on Airport Boulevard. And I spent this whole year telling my mom all about, I'm like, "Mom, remember when you came to Howard Johnson that night?" And blah, 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 all this. And she went to heaven. So we kicked it off anyway. We had police, not an escort, but they knew we were out there. We went out there. So we've just continued. And so what that looks like, or why, on the personal level, why is because those girls, they get overlooked. It's just another prostitute. It's just another drug addict. They don't even get a lot. Okay, I'm going to say this. they don't even, there's not a lot of buzz. There's a lot of buzz when you can take down a bunch of traffickers. And this girl, that sounds horrible, but they're just forgotten about. They're dismissed, and they're literally have become a part of the framework of that area.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
It don't even mean nothing to see a prostitute.
Oh, that's just Telephone Road. Oh, that's just.
It doesn't even mean anything, right?
Yeah.
But, so I just started going back to these places, taking condoms, talking to people, giving them resources. We would, if people want to pray, we'd pray, whatever. Just, I see you. Mm-hmm. If you want to do something different, you call me. Yeah. And been doing that for many, many years. And then, of course, because it matters, they count. And I know that pain. And then they just got all stuck like I did. Now they're just out there lying to themselves, thinking and believing it's the only place they can have confidence.
That's right. Yeah. And
you hear me now, I bet.
I
bet you see me now.
That's right. At least I control this. Human nature will do that in almost every circumstance. They'll create some way to explain at least this. At least I have this. And it is a survival tactic that's fundamental to all of us, but it can also keep us stuck in a place that we deserve so much more. Just along those lines. So let's talk about some of the work you're doing with animals and with shelters and people who you've partnered with to help in that area.
Yeah. It's been really cool. Some more stuff's even happening. I'm so excited. So for me, believe it or not, I always grew up with a dog in the backyard, but it was more of a don't jump on me, I'm going out, kind of like Red, got to stay fresh, right?
Yeah.
Loved them, but I just never really, but in 2012 also, so mom was fixing to go to heaven, not really knowing, but my son gave me a cat and she changed me. Something changed on the inside of me. So I had kind of my own personal thing going with animals. And then before I know it, I'm, now I got a house full, and they all were rescued from Hobby Airport area, except for 2 and their sons of one that was rescued. Anyway, so the idea with Project Girls and this whole entrepreneurship and these little elements, if you will, the idea was to always let's place abused and abandoned animals with women for their healing journey. Because I got to experience that in my own life, right? Yeah. And so you've met Joker. He's our mascot now. Well, I got him out of the Red Roof Inn off Gulf Freeway. He was I can't even believe he survived.
Mr. Joker.
He survived. He's a for real survivor of the game. Yeah. And he was one of that chick that, I'm not going to say her name or even her street name, but that one chick that introduced me that we're in out there in Telephone Road, I got him for her. And she just, she's still hurting.
Yeah.
She's still involved in all that. And so now I got Joker but that was the original idea. Hey, and so there's been some of that's happened with my life, some survivors I know, giving them a dog and all that. But what I was presented with was Telephone Road, me doing what I do, rolling in, what's up, chick, you good, you need something, you still, your feet ain't, you're tired, your legs aren't tired yet, you still want to hit the leg, okay, call me when you're ready. Yeah. In doing that work, I was driving down Telephone Road one afternoon, and I watch a dog run across the street. I watch a little puppy follow it, and then I watch the puppy try. Oh, no. And he didn't make it, and so I got him and gave him a memorial and did all the, took him and took care of him and got him all squared away and gave him a name, little Rodney. And from that was birthed Project Girls, Canines, and Renegades. Yeah. So it was chicks in the game and the dogs in the game. So they're both surviving the trauma of the game. No clue, to be honest, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm not animal welfare, you know what I'm saying? I don't do none of that. Yeah. It's on the emotional side. But I had to respond to it because that's just who I am. Just like a girl out there, I'm going to respond to that crisis. Yeah. And
some of the greatest things that are achieved in life are achieved because somebody who others would say somebody should do something, somebody realizes, well, I'm somebody, I'll do something. And then you start to find ways to connect. And that's what you've done with partners like Bark, Barrio Dogs.
Bark, Save Rescue Coalition, Three Little Pitties.
Yeah.
So there's been, so that's just evolved. And same thing. Does your dog need food? Do you need a leash? Do you need this? Just like I'm doing for them. And then we've gotten Houston Humane Society involved, and we've participated in, we just had a meeting with them the other day, and it's like we're a part of this network now. So if a girl wants to leave the game, we can get her situated, get her dog situated. As a matter of fact, I go Saturday to see the new Houston Area Women's Center facility. They got a facility for chicks and dogs, man. And I'm like,
that's
man,
awesome. That's
you
right
better
there.
look out. I'm Cadillac Red on scene.
Gonna be a regular there.
It's going down. So it was a response to a crisis of that puppy dying in my arms. 2 days later, I went back. There's dogs everywhere on Telephone Road. And I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah.
I got to do something. So a lot of hard, just like I had to learn the game and not put my money in old boy's hand to go straight to the dope dealer. That's what's been happening with the work of Project Girls. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I got to get some forms in place. If you're going to give me, you got to sign surrender your dog. So we've gotten forms in place and training. People have to understand what you're walking into, which I've always done with the women, but now I'm finding myself educating and being educated by these true animal welfare groups. Like, look, I need your help because I don't do vaccines. I'm not. Y'all have vouchers to get people,
that can help
so they're educating me, but then I'm educating them on. There are striking parallels between women that have lost their kids and their families to why they're rescuing that dog.
Yeah, that's right.
There's something going on.
That's right, and it's something they control. When you can give love, then you're able to heal some and to care for an animal, even though they don't have what people would consider the traditional things to care for them. But
there's a lot of judgment.
There's also a lot of love that animal's getting. So
sometimes, I need to say this, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen. There's different things going on out there with dogs. Some are just totally, they need to be removed from those motels. And that's why, so you bringing up partners is so important, because I need to be able to call and say, like we have, SPCA.
Just facilitated an adopt. That's where I was going with that.
Get out of there.
Exactly.
Let's get the dog out.
And that dog that was in there, I saw the picture of him in his new home, happy little guy. So those are things that matter. Like, it's humanity. Humanity needs companionship. It's not always going to be with another human being, because look what the companionship is with other humans they're experiencing. But with this dog, this unconditional love they can give and receive. And if they can't, then you're there to help with that. I mean, it's just a caretaking role that you are giving selflessly to Telephone, to the Houston hobby area. And it's extremely powerful. I want you to think about ways people can help. I'll ask you that here in just a second. Like, how can they contact you? Funding for operations. I mean, if 5 people give $500, then that's $1,500 that can go to something. I'm sorry, $2,500. I did math without eating lunch. That's $2,500. And a lot of people are like, well, what can you do with that? Well, you can do a lot with that. And the work that you're already connected to, you are the facilitator to be able to bring those things to people. We ask a question. We like to ask our guests the same question at the end. So after this, I'll ask you how people can support you. But if you could go back and talk to little Tracy, a little kid, and you had something you could tell Tracy, what would you tell her?
Oh, man. I don't know. Probably something like, well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, you're important, or something like, they're making fun of you now, but one day they won't be. Maybe something like that. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, you are absolutely important, and more so, you're serving people in a way that's selfless and is too unknown as far as I'm concerned. We're going to do something about that. You've even started something in the Southeast Houston Initiative. That's a powerful thing. So as we do this work together, as we learn from survivors, we want to stop and understand what are the things that aren't getting talked about. You came here today and courageously talked about a lot of that. I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much. How can people support the work that you're doing with Project Girls?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly different levels. I mean, there's the day-to-day, I think it's probably why we have a strategic plan in place. Ultimately, we want a crisis center, a facility in the area. That would be if someone's interested in donating real estate space, something like that, for sure. I mean, because we're in position for that. I mean, there's so many recovery coaches and peer support specialists that are already doing work, even interns that could come alongside and help us with that work. So that's kind of on the bigger, whether it's, and of course, salaries and things like that. So I could just totally focus on that.
Yeah.
But there's the day-to-day stuff. There's like so while these agencies have helped, like, hey, we do have some dog food, or we do have some leashes, or we do have, but just kind of operational for that, because we go out every week. We're going out again August 3rd. We were out there last night. A dude was abusing a dog, and I'm like calling some people, and we're going out there and we're doing, I mean, yeah, big deal, right? But when you're doing it week after week, it can kind of add up. Yeah. It can also help us with our trainings, which, you brought up the Southeast Hobby Initiatives, that you're helping bring shape to, and being a part of that.
With you on that.
Yeah, because I want to do some cross training for that. So we have to put that together, all the material for that, and be able to. So there's that day-to-day stuff. And then, like I said, I'd be happy to sit down and talk with people that may be interested in finding out.
How can they contact you? The email, or what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Phone, email would probably be the best. projectgirlshtx@gmail.
Tracy, thank you so much for today. I mean, you and I could talk, and we do talk for a long time. It wouldn't be, this is not our longest conversation.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
I think that as we talked to each other, we talked to everyone else. And if you're watching this, and as you were taking in the story, there is power in just connecting and saying, how can I help? There is power in understanding that people's situations, while you may not be the one that goes in, right into the trenches, you can support the people that do. And so please give that some consideration. And Tracy, again, thank you so much for today.
Thank you. Thank you. I loved it. It was great.